Hello, this is Collette from the Sacred Rose Temple, and I'm looking forward to giving you this week's energy report on the 18th of November 2024. Okay, so we're still in it. We're still there. We're still working through all the patterns that I've been ongoing for the last months. And the energy is really trying to get us to see these behaviors that have been detrimental to us, that have been holding us back, that have been kept uh, under wraps, in repression, unseen, and actually making us go around in really significant loops all of our lives. We've been seeing that over many years, how we have been, victims of our own behaviors. And I'll use the word victims loosely because nobody wants to be in victimhood, but in fact, what these wounds do is lead us into victimhood. It leads us into places where we feel that we're unable to get out. And that's what all this planetary kind of bonanza is about. It's about trying to make you see that actually you're not a victim and it's you that's creating these loops. It's these behaviors that you've been given in this life to overcome, to heal, to work through in order to be the best version of yourself, to be yourself, who you came here raw, authentic, vulnerable, naked to be. Without everything that's been layered onto you through your life, through your imprints and your family and your wounds and your traumas, it's trying to shed all those things from you so that you can actually live in an authentic version of yourself, stripped back naked. So there's lots going on. Pluto leaves Capricorn tomorrow on the 19th, and we've got that last chance to just see how we're inner parenting ourselves. I think the inner child's come up a lot over the last few months. Like, we're going back to wounds with regards to our inner child. And we always forget when we're so focused on inner child work that what correlates and the contra of the inner child is the inner adult. And the inner adult in us is what? Like, what's your inner adult like? What is it responsible? Is it not responsible? Does it not have a clue? Is it really unable to come in and step up for you? Is it hypercritical? Is it abusive? Is it the voice that's your mother and your father in your head? What is your inner parent? And I think it's really important to make that conscious right now, if you've not done already during the last few weeks, as to what's that voice inside of me that's really quite detrimental or abusive, or actually lets me off the hook and mollycoddles me. What is that inner voice? It often takes shape of the parental authority, and it can leave us with very deep negative imprints. So, those of us that have got the really critical voice, the demeaning voice, the punishing voice, then we need to really take a look at it and say, this inner parenting voice is abusive, actually, and it needs to stop. And I need to produce and make conscious a better version of the inner parent inside myself. How does the inner parent parent my inner child? Is it supportive? Is it holding? Is it trying to say, come on, you've got this, you can do this, pull out some willpower, you go for it? Or is it mollycoddling us and saying, don't do that, you don't need to leave home, you don't need to do that? It could be devouring, it could be consuming, it could be neglectful. So I think what a good question this week is what is the voice of my inner parent, and how do I inner parent myself? And just do a little bit of journaling with that, or take a moment of meditation to just connect to the inner parent in you and to give the inner parent complex a voice. This is really going to help you as you move forward. After you've done that, have a little think about, a positive parent, and looking at a reflection of what you've achieved so far in your life. We're always grasping, aren't we, to be, I know I am, on a spiritual path, and somebody who's really concerned with her individuation, being the best version of me, being the authentic me. I know that I'm always in self-reflection of what I need to do to better, and what I need to do to work on with shadow, and what I'm lacking in. And the energies this week are also just trying to say, let's just take a minute to have a reflection at what you've achieved so far. And I did this yesterday. I was thinking, 7 years ago, and this is the cycle. I'm currently in a 7-year cycle that's ending. And I wasn't the same person that I was 7 years ago. And I'm going to give myself a little congratulations for some places that I've moved. I've become softer. I've become more vulnerable. I'm more in my anima than I ever was. I am trying to catch all the shadow parts of me that have played out over the years and be kind to myself about those and understand that they were made through a lot of childhood wounding. I'm aware of deeper aspects of my childhood wounding and relationships with the feminine and the masculine. So I'm really sat here thinking, yeah, I've just done 5 years of Jungian work intensely. I've been seeing therapists over the last 5 years intensely. And I've, you know, achieved a sense of purpose in my work. I'm self-employed. I own my own home. These are all big achievements. These are all big things I've been working with ancestrally and in my own wounding to make sure that I am not in a place of victimhood. So I want you to look at a reflection of what you've achieved so far and just take a moment to ponder that. Because in the next cycle, whichever year that is for you, I know I'm hoping in the next 7 years for a lot of new things. I've written those down and I'll be able to look back in 7 years and say, yeah, that's brilliant. I made a movement from this point now. So having said that, the current place you're in is a new place. And that's because of Saturn. Saturn has now gone direct. It was in retrograde. And what that was doing while it was in retrograde was trying to strip you of your illusions, your defense, your denials, your rose tinted glasses. I've spoke about that in the other energy reports. So if you've done the work there, you're going to be sat in a current set of truths about yourself and who you are and why your current situation is what it is. Why am I in this current situation that I am now? What is my behaviors that have gone past? What were my illusions? What were my denials? What were my rose tinted glasses? How did they lead me to where I am right now? And that's a very, very powerful place to be. Because if you can understand what behaviors led you to be in the situation you are in now, and especially the parts of the situation you don't like currently, then you've got the tools to move forward in your life into specific areas that you want to change. So your current dilemma, your current situation, your current life is a consequence of all your past actions, behaviors, shadows, celebrations, all of it in one. And I think what happens is this kind of the directness of Saturn, and as we come into that full moon in Taurus, it's really trying to bring us into consciousness and to understand that consciousness and sacredness is not something that's applied at the weekend or at the evening or when you go to your yoga class. That consciousness and sacredness is something that we're constantly striving for in our everyday life. And this has really been something I've tried to direct my life towards since I've worked with yoga and been to ashrams and been to monasteries and Buddhist camps and, currently training under a Shambhala meditation style at the moment, which asks for deep reflection and consciousness too. And I think one thing I do realize is that I have tried to contain consciousness within the mundane and sacredness within my home life, because I don't believe the two are separate. I don't believe that my home is not a sacred space, nor the land that I live on. And everybody always comes to my land and says, oh, it just feels so special. It's definitely sacred. That's because of the intention I've put into it. It's because of the devotions and the prayers and the honorings and the altars and opening up the Genesis points and the labyrinths that I've built and living here and telling everyone that comes here to help that works on the land that please treat this as a sacred space. And they become in reverence of this space, and then the space becomes reverence of them. So, yeah, where are you applying your own sacred space in your life, your bedroom, your home, your garden? It's a sacred space, and do you treat it like that? And also, are you applying consciousness to everything, every situation? Are you using all your consciousness, your intuition, your instincts as much as you can? Or are you constantly living in your head? Because we know that consciousness, the unconscious, sacredness, spiritual life, it's not about being in the intellect. It's beyond the intellect. And I've been teaching women for years how to go beyond the intellect, to come into intuition, instinct, the knowing, the womb wisdom, into the heart, into the different places in the body that makes different decisions than the head. And usually when we're thinking, the thinking process is distorted by our wounds, our ego, our fears, all of those things. So I recently taught in one of my classes how to go beyond thinking and passing any questions or situations into the intuition, instinct, knowing faculty that lives within you in your womb to get a different answer. And so we find ourselves on a first date and we sink into the intuition and the knowing, is this man right for me? We go on our interview and we sit and sink in intuition and feeling and knowing and ask, is this job good for me? We have a life decision that we sit with and we feel and we intuit and we use our instinct to say, which is the best direction? What should I do next? But more often than not, most people are in a thinking function and therefore get one answer that comes from all the distortions. So that's something else to mooch on. How are you actually using all your functionality? Or are you just being a one-trick mind pony? Because the one-trick mind pony has probably led to the circumstances that you're in that you want to change. So that's the full moon. The full moon in Taurus has changed a lot for us. It's wanting to bring out an inner liberation. It's wanting for us to liberate the authentic, the true self, not the one that's bothered about how you look, what your face looks like, what you appear like to other people, but just purely in that grounded, stable place that is true authenticity, speaking what you feel, communicating exactly what you're going through, not hiding anything, and understanding that when you are hiding, when you are being silent, when you are holding back, you are in shadow. Liberation is freedom, freedom from yourself, freedom from your own limitations, freedom from your own lies, freedom from your own repression. That's where liberation starts. Can I liberate myself? Can I be transparent, clear, authentic, constantly communicating, even if that's uncomfortable for me and uncomfortable for you? I will be clear. I will not imprison myself and my voice. That's Taurus. That's the full moon in Taurus. So really, really begin to work there. The last thing I want to say, it's quite a long one this week because there's so much going on, is about community and knowing yourself, being authentic, releasing veils of illusion, denial, rose-tinted glasses. We begin to understand that we're all interconnected as humans, that we're all really suffering the trials and tribulations of life and our upbringing and our dharma and our karma and all of that and our ancestral wounds. But that's where we all should be able to connect to each other. No man is an island, no man's on his own, no man on this planet is without other people. And I hold my hand up here. I hermit. I really have this hermit tendency now that I live in France. Before that was never part of me. I was always quite sociable, but I've gone from extrovert to introvert, and the introversion has been needed for me to do a lot of self-reflection and inner work. But now there's a period for me that I am starting to realize that I need to be more deep in a community, and that community has got to be good for me. It's got to be where I feel I can be myself, where I can say the things that I believe in, that I can be authentic, that I can speak my truth, that I can share my spirituality and the journey I've been on all the way, and no one look at me like I've got three heads. And that's where we find our tribe, isn't it? It's feeling that tribally we get each other. And I've learned that the hard way. I've often found myself in quite hostile situations with people that don't really get me. And they're the wrong groups. I'm trying to to be my authentic self in groups where authenticity isn't easy for them, and therefore they don't allow my authenticity. So when we feel ourselves in situations like that, we should remove ourselves and just back off and try to find a space that does embrace you in your authentic truth, in your who you are, your wounds and your uglies and your warts, as well as your good stuff. And that's a recent change that's happened to me. I've really found a little community that is exactly on the path that I'm on. And it's been much more nurturing and easy. And I speak and people understand. And it's not like I'm an alien with three heads. I'm not speaking a different language. I'm not so extraordinary or strange. They just are understanding that journey and that path because they are on the same one. And it's a tribal path. So I want you to feel about that, into that, and stop wasting energy in spaces that you cannot be true, authentic, real, and be yourself, where you have to dilute, quieten down, hide yourself. And noticing on also the last part of this community is where you are either hyper independent or super dependent. Do you always need others to help you? Do you always need the other? Or do you find it hard to ask others and just tend to do things on your own all the time? Personally, I fall into the hyper dependent, independent category, and I found it difficult all my life to find people that I trust enough to say, can I have help? Can you support me here? I'm struggling. And it just never allowed it. My pride, my ego was too big. I was worried. And, I did in some instances try that and it backfired, and people were all that I worried that it was going to be. But it goes back to finding your tribe and finding your people and finding those people that support you and will be there and allow you to be not hyper independent and not dependent, but being in the middle, being able to be dependent and being able to lean in on when you need to. So I'm going to leave that there because it's a lot. I like giving a lot, but like with these energy reports, I give you different strands to work with because one might really pop for you and you say, yeah, that's exactly what I need to work with this week. All of them might, but you might not have time to deal with them all. So take what you need, leave what you don't, and do some work this week on some of these themes, because the cosmos, the astrology, the collective energy is supporting you to heal these, deal with these, work with these in a super turbocharged way. So take the opportunity and have a blooming great week. And I will speak to you all again next week. Thank you for listening. I ask you all to please support my work. If you've listened to this, I give up my time and space in my working day to get these reports to you to help you. So please share, like, make a comment. It all helps with an energetic exchange, and I'd be really appreciative of it. Bye for now.